Charles IV, King of Bohemia and Holy Roman Emperor, had a long and successful reign. The empire he ruled from Prague expanded, and his subjects lived in peace and prosperity. When the emperor died, the whole empire mourned. More than 7,000 people accompanied him on his last procession. The heir to the throne of the flourishing empire was Charles's son, Wenceslas IV, whose father had prepared him for this moment all his life. But Wenceslas did not take after his father. He neglected affairs of state for more frivolous pursuits. He even failed to turn up for his own coronation as emperor, which did little to endear him to the Pope. Wenceslas the Idle did not impress the imperial nobility either. His difficulties mounted until the nobles, exasperated by the inaction of their ruler, turned for help to his half-brother, King Sigismund of Hungary. Sigismund decided on a radical solution. He kidnapped the king to force him to abdicate, then took advantage of the ensuing disorder to gain greater power for himself. He invaded Bohemia with a massive army and began pillaging the territories of the king's allies. It is here that my story begins. in a rush to pray?
In a rush to slow down, brother.
Stop, Gregor! Brother? You were somewhere you shouldn't have been. Don't you know your place? Don't you know where you're permitted to enter and where your presence is forbidden?
Very well, brother. I accept my punishment.
Now, show me what you have on you. I must confiscate anything that is not allowed in the monastery.
While I was locked up, someone was making quite a racket in the cellar. Blind drunk, I'm sure of it. I wonder what's been going on.
Waiting pays off. There's no hurry.
Could do with a bite to eat. Could do with a bite to eat. I'll have to get something to eat. I'm starting to get hungry.
Peace be with you, brother.
I could do with a bite to eat.
Slow down, brother. In a rush
brother.
to pray. In a rush to pray.
Slow down, brother.
Pay more attention. Slow down, brother.
Why such haste?
Why such haste?
From Easter until the calends of October. When they come out from
Could
primary
do with a
morning,
bite to
let them
eat.
labor at whatever is necessary until about the 4th hour. And from the 4th hour until about the 6th, let them apply themselves to reading. After the 6th hour, having left the table, let them rest on their beds in perfect silence, or if anyone may perhaps want to read, let him read to himself in such a way as not to disturb anyone else. Let none be said rather early, at the middle of the 8th hour, and let them again do what work has to be done until vespers. Weak or sickly brethren should be assigned a task or craft of such a nature as to keep them from idleness, and at the same time not to overburden them or drive them away with excessive toil. Their weakness must be taken into consideration by the abbot. The rule of Saint Benedict, readings on the spirit of silence. Let us do what the prophet says. I said, I will guard my ways, that I may not sin with my tongue. I have set a guard to my mouth. I was mute and was humbled and kept silence even from good things. Here the prophet shows that if the spirit of silence ought to lead us at times to refrain even from good speech, so much the more ought the punishment for sin make us avoid evil words. Therefore, since the spirit of silence is so important, permission to speak should rarely be granted even to perfect disciples, even though it be for good, holy, edifying conversation. For it is written, in much speaking you will not escape sin. And in another place, death and life are in the power of the tongue. For speaking and teaching belong to the master. The disciple's part is to be silent and to listen. And for that reason, if anything has to be asked of the superior, it should be asked with all the humility and submission inspired by reverence. But as for coarse jests and idle words, or words that move to laughter, these we condemn
What do you desire,
everywhere with
Brother
a
Gregor?
perpetual ban. And for such conversation we do
I'm
not
interested in the
permit
other
a
novices.
disciple to open his mouth.
Do you know anything
The
about
rule of
Antonius?
Saint Benedict.
Only that he came to the
Readings
monastery
on the
voluntarily,
daily manual.
because he didn't want to work in his
Idleness
father's
is the
shop.
enemy of the soul.
Antonius is all right.
Therefore, the
You can
brethren
rely
should
on
be
him.
occupied
He
at
won't
certain
betray your
times in
confidence.
manual labor,
He's always
and
happy to
again at
help,
fixed hours
which is
in
more than
sacred
can be
reading.
said for the other
To
brothers.
that end, we think that the times for each may be prescribed as follows. From Easter until the
I'm
calends
interested
of
in
October.
Lucas.
When they come out from
Nobody
primary
knows
morning,
much about
let them
Lucas.
labor at whatever
He
is
keeps himself to
necessary
himself.
until about the 4th
If you
hour.
ask me,
And
he's
from the
got
4th
something
hour
to
until
hide.
about the 6th,
I'd keep
let
well
them
clear of
apply
him if I
themselves
was
to
you.
reading.
Do you have any grounds for suspecting
After
him
the
of something?
6th hour, having left the table,
Quite a lot.
let them rest on their beds
And also
in
none at all.
perfect silence.
The
or if
circuitors
anyone
who
may
make the rounds
perhaps want
despise
to
him,
read,
and
let him
they'd never
read to
punish
himself
anyone
in
without
such a way
cause.
as not to disturb anyone else. Let none be said rather early, at the middle of the 8th hour, and let them again do what work has to be done until Vespers. Weak or sickly brethren should be assigned a task or craft of such a nature as to keep them from idleness and at the same time not to overburden them or drive them away with excessive toil. Their weakness must be taken into consideration by the abbot.
What troubles you?
The rule of Saint Benedict. Readings on daily manual labor. Idleness is the enemy.
Will you tell me something about yourself?
There's not much to tell. I lived in Vlashim, and after my father died, I found out I wasn't much of a merchant. So I left the shop to my brother and decided to become a monk. It's peaceful here. There's food and lots of time to read.
So you chose to come here?
It may seem strange, but I'm one of the few novices that did. I might be the only one. The truth is, the idea of spending my life in a monastery was more appealing than being cooped up in a greasy old shop.
I'd be interested to hear what you think about the other novices. What about Yodok?
Be on good terms with him. If you show even the slightest hint you don't like him, he'll make your life hell. He's a slimy little pedant who'll rat you out to the superiors. Once he finishes his novitiate, I imagine he'll want to climb his way up the ladder to at least Circator. He's a man who enjoys ordering others around.
I'm interested in Lucas.
No one knows much about him. He doesn't talk to anyone. He works, eats, sleeps, then does it all again the next day. It's as if he wanted to get it all over with as soon as possible. By it, I mean his entire life.
That's all, thanks.
Let them apply themselves to reading. After the 6th hour, having left the table, let them rest on their beds in perfect silence, or if anyone may perhaps want to read, let him read to himself in such a way as not to disturb anyone else. Let none be said rather early, at the middle of the 8th hour, and let them again do what work has to be done until Vespers. Weak or sickly brethren,
I'd like to know something about the other novices.
I don't know much, but ask away.
Do you know anything about Yodok?
I don't. He doesn't like me, and he's on very friendly terms with the Circators. That's about it.
Readings on the spirit of silence. Let us do what the prophet says.
You really don't know anything about anyone? Well, thanks anyway.
Don't get upset. I'm sorry I can't tell you more. I just haven't felt like getting to know anyone yet.
That if the spirit of silence ought to lead us at times to refrain even from good speech, so much the more ought the punishment for sin make us avoid evil words. Therefore, since the spirit of silence is so important, permission to speak should rarely be granted even to perfect disciples, even though it be for good.
My name's Gregor, a novice.
You can call me Siskin. Now, are you here of your own free will, or is this a punishment? Although it's not important. Welcome to purgatory.
Did you say purgatory?
You'll see soon enough. Soon enough.
Will you tell me something about yourself?
Look, nothing against you, but I prefer not to talk about my past.
Are you hiding something? Why are you so reluctant to tell me anything about yourself?
I'm hiding a lousy past that I'd rather forget. I hate to think of all I lost when they stuck me in here. And also because I really hate the question, aren't you the son of the famed Sir Smil Flashka of Pardubitz? I was rich and I had everything. But then my father began to feel his time approaching, so he decided to send a son to the monastery. And, being the youngest, the lot fell on me. I've no head for managing the estate, and they said I'd squander it. Can you imagine? Me, in a monastery. So I took what coin I could from home with me, so I didn't lose out completely.
But you didn't have to come here if you didn't want to.
No, not if I didn't mind being left to beg alms by the city gate. I had one choice, the monastery or nothing. If it had come to that after my father's death, so be it. But to get rid of me while he's still alive?
They must have realised you robbed them.
I donated some of the silver to the monastery when I came in, just to piss them off. I can just see my my siblings, arguing with the abbot to give it back.
And you stashed away the remainder?
Indeed so.
What's your plan with this treasure?
To get out of here as soon as I can. I'll wait another year or two until my hot-headed brothers cool off a bit, and then I'll take the silver and run off somewhere, far, far away from here.
That's all I wanted to know.
Please, keep it to yourself, especially the part about the coin.
But this very obedience will be acceptable to God and pleasing to men only if what is commanded is done without hesitation. Delay, lukewarmness, grumbling, or objection.
How is it that you don't get any penance for missing morning prayers?
I've paid off the circators to turn a blind eye. And the other monks don't notice as long as you show your face there from time to time. No one's too awake at that time of the morning.
His work will not be acceptable to God, who sees that his heart is murmuring, and far from gaining a reward for such work as this, he will incur the punishment due to murmurers, unless he amend and make satisfaction. The Rule of Saint Benedict, Readings on Humility. The first degree of humility is obedience without delay. This is the virtue of those who hold nothing dearer to them than Christ, who, because of the holy service they have professed, and the fear of hell and the glory of life everlasting, as soon as anything has been ordered by the superior, receive it as a divine command and cannot suffer any delay in executing it. But this very obedience will be acceptable to God and pleasing to men only if what is commanded is done without hesitation. Delay, lukewarmness, grumbling, or objection. For the obedience given to superiors is given to God. For if the disciple obeys with an ill will and murmurs, not necessarily with his lips but simply in his heart, then even though he fulfills the command, yet his work will not be acceptable to God, who sees that his heart is murmuring, and far from gaining a reward for such work as this, he will incur the punishment due to murmurers, unless he amend and make satisfaction.
I'm Gregor, a novice.
I know. I saw you at the ceremony. My name is Neblis, and I'm the provost here. I'm in charge of the monastery's property, as well as handling trade with the outside world.
That means you get to leave the monastery?
No, not at all. I just write lists and send them out.
I'm here to work.
Excellent. I've been waiting for you. There's the alchemist's laboratory. You'll find ingredients in the chests next to it. Concoct 2 buck's blood potions. Once you finish them, you'll find me somewhere nearby. Don't forget to let me know when you're done so I can check them.
God be with you.
Slow down, brother.
What troubles you?
I've finished my work.
Show me what you've made. Spectacular, Gregor. You've found your talent. Soon enough, you'll be teaching the other novices. Oro pro nobis sancta dia genetrix, ut digni efficiamur promissionibus Christi. Ie Jesu Domine, dona eis requiem. Oro pro nobis sancta dia genetrix, ut digni efficiamur promissionibus Christi.
God be with you.
I've read one of the manuscripts copied by one of the novices. I think I'm going to cry.
It's that touching, is it?
Touching? More like infuriating. A horrible, abominable waste of parchment. Young people have no respect for writing these days.
But they'll learn. We were no different.
Talk to me, brother.
I'm here to work.
Good. This is most likely the first time you've ever done this in your life. But it's easier than you think. Just a bit of practice and learning Latin. Here's the original, and here are the blank parchments on which you'll copy what you read in the original. Is that clear? Then you may begin, and try not to make a mess of it. No, no, no. I can't believe you've made so many mistakes. What troubles you?
Is it possible to learn something about the other novices in the library?
Only the abbot and the prior keep such records.
And can I see them?
No. The abbot writes and keeps his records in his chambers, and only he and the prior are permitted to read them.
I found this piece of parchment. It looks like it's been ripped out of a book. Do you know what it is?
It appears to be a page torn out of Ovid.
Ovid? What is that? Is it the name of a book?
Not what, but who. Ovid was a great Roman poet. We have a few volumes by him in the library, but one of them vanished one day. Now I believe I can guess what happened. Brother Eustace, may the earth rest lightly on him, was quite narrow-minded when it came to classical literature. If a book had any mention of woman at all, he condemned it as a heretical work. If he'd had his way, all such books would have been burned. Ovid's The Art of Love must have been such a thorn in his side that he stole it from the library, tore it up, and hid the pages wherever he could.
Oh, would you like me to put the book back together again?
Absolutely. Eustace's wits weren't the sharpest, so I'm sure he didn't destroy any of the pages. I imagine he hid them throughout the monastery. It might take you a while to find them all, but when you do, you can rest assured Ovid will return to his rightful place in the library.
Good. I'll look around for it.
Thank you, brother. It's of no great importance, but if you can find all 10 pages, I'll be most grateful.
Where should I look?
If I knew, I wouldn't have asked you to do it. The pages of the book could be hidden anywhere, from the garden to the refectory. Why such haste?
The forbidden books must be in
You
that
interested
cabinet.
in what's inside? Forbidden books, written by the devil himself. Forget about them. God be with you.
Praise be to our Lord Jesus.
Slow down, brother.
Pay more attention, brother.
Why such
Watch your step,
Why
brother.
such haste?
By his deeds even more than by his words, expounding the Lord's commandments in words to the intelligent among his disciples, but demonstrating the divine precepts by his actions for those of harder hearts and ruder minds. The abbot should always remember what he is and what he is called, and should know that to whom more is committed, from him more is required. Let him make no distinction of persons in the monastery. Let him not love one more than another, unless it be one whom he finds better in good works or in obedience. And let him not shut his eyes to the faults of offenders, but, since he has the authority, let him cut out those faults by the roots as soon as they begin to appear. Remembering the fate of Heli, the priest of Sila, the well-disposed and those of good understanding, let him correct with verbal admonition the first and second time. But bold, hard, proud, and disobedient characters he should curb at the very beginning of their ill-doing by stripes and other bodily punishments, knowing that it is written, "The fool is not corrected with words." And again, beat your son with the rod, and you will deliver his soul from death. The rule of Saint Benedict, readings on daily manual labor. Idleness is the enemy of the soul. Therefore, the brethren should be occupied at
Gregor,
certain times
talk
in
to me.
manual labor, and again at fixed hours in sacred reading. To that end, we think that the times for each may be
I'm interested in the
prescribed
other
as follows.
novices.
From Easter until the calends of October.
What can you tell me
When
about
they come
Siskin?
out from prime in the morning, let them
Oh,
labor at
he's
whatever
always
is
got a smile
necessary
and a new
until
friend.
about the fourth
But
hour.
I reckon he
And
don't
from the
belong
fourth
in the
hour
monastery.
until about the
He
sixth,
spends more
let them
time dreaming of
apply
the world
themselves
outside
to
than tending to his duties.
after the
I'm
sixth
surprised he
hour,
hasn't been
let
thrown
them
out
labor,
already.
let them
If he
rest
was up
on
to
their
me,
beds,
he'd be
in
out on his
perfect
ear right
silence.
away.
Or if anyone may perhaps want to read, let him read to himself in such a way as not to disturb anyone
Peace
else.
be with you, brother.
Let
Sounds like
Amen
you don't
be
have
said
much time
rather
for him.
early, at the
I
middle
wouldn't
eighth
trust him as
hour,
far as I could
and
throw
let
him.
them again do what work
Believe
has
me,
been done
Gregor,
until
he's
vespers.
hiding something from
Weak
us.
or sickly brethren should
In
be
fact,
assigned a task
now I
and
come to
craft
think of
such
it,
a nature as
I haven't
to
seen
keep
him at morning
idleness,
prayers for a
and
while.
At the same time, not to overburden them or drive them away with excessive toil. Their weakness must be taken into consideration by the abbot. The rule of Saint Benedict, readings on humility. The first degree of humility is obedience without delay. This is the virtue of those who hold nothing dearer to them than Christ, who, because of the holy service they have professed, and the fear of
I'd
heaven,
like to know something about the
glory
other
of life
novices.
everlasting.
I
As soon
don't
as
know
anything
much,
has been
but
taught
ask
by the
away.
superior, receive it as a divine
What can you
command,
tell me about
and cannot
Siskin?
suffer any delay in
Not a lot. I don't know him.
this very obedience
Actually,
will
I
be
don't
acceptable
know much
to
about
God
him at all,
and pleasing to men
except that he's
only
not
if
a
what is
stickler for rules.
commanded is done without hesitation. Delay, lukewarmness, grumbling, or objection. For the obedience given to superiors is given to God.
Are you
For
joking?
if the disciple
Don't you know
obeys
anyone
with
at all
ill
here?
will and murmurs,
Why should
not
I?
necessarily with his lips, but
I'd
simply
have thought
in
you
his
might
heart,
want to know who you'll be
then
spending the
even
rest
though
of your
he
life
fulfills
with.
the command,
I definitely
yet
do.
his work
In
will
fact,
be
I probably already know more about them than you do.
who sees that his
Don't
heart
get
is
upset.
burned, and far
Sorry
from
I
being
can't tell you
rewarded for
more.
such
I
work as
just
this,
haven't
he will
felt
incur
like
the
getting to know
punishment
anyone
of
yet.
murmurers, unless he amend and make satisfaction. The rule of Saint Benedict, readings on the spirit of silence. Let us do what the prophet says.
Will you
I
tell me
said,
something about
I will
yourself?
guard my ways.
Ah,
I may not sin in
there's
my
nothing I can tell
have
you.
set a guard to my
I
mouth.
mean, where you're
I
from,
was
what
mute,
sort of life you
was
had
humble,
before, that
kept
sort of thing.
silence even from
I'm a novice,
Here
and
the
my
prophet
monastic
told
name
the
is
spirit of
Lucas.
silence
Nothing
ought
else
to use
matters.
at times to refrain even from good speech. So much the more ought the punishment for sin make us avoid evil words. Therefore, since this spirit of silence is so important, permission to speak should rarely be granted even to perfect disciples, even though it
Come
be
on.
good.
Is there really nothing at all you can tell me?
conversation. For it is
I
written,
could, but I don't want to. I'm sorry. I want to stay focused on work and prayer, not on who I once was. I never will be again. What has been isn't important for us. We cast the past aside when we walked through the monastery gates and took our oath. Never forget that.
And for that reason, if anything has to be asked of the superior, it should be asked with all the humility and submission inspired by reverence. But as for coarse jests and idle words, or words that move to laughter, these we condemn everywhere with a perpetual ban. And for such conversation...
I'm Gregor and I'm new here.
I know. I saw you in the church during ceremony. I have the feeling we'll be meeting again soon, and often. You see, I'm the circator.
What does that mean?
I make sure everyone observes the rule, does their work, and that everything's the way it should be.
When it's not the way it should be?
Then we're authorized to mete out punishment. But certainly you won't require correction, will you, brother?
When they come out from prime in the morning, let them labor at whatever is necessary until about the 4th hour. And from the 4th hour until about the 6th, let them apply themselves to reading. After the 6th hour, having left the table, let them rest on their beds in perfect silence, or if anyone may perhaps want to read, let him read to himself in such a way as not to disturb anyone else. Let none be said rather early, at the middle of the 8th hour, and let them again do what work has to be done until vespers. Weak or sickly brethren should be assigned a task or craft of such a nature as to keep them from idleness, and at the same time not to overburden them or drive them away with excessive toil. Their weakness must be taken into consideration by the abbot. The rule of Saint Benedict, readings on humility. The first degree of humility is obedience without delay. This is the virtue of those who hold nothing dearer to them than Christ, who, because of the holy service they have professed, and the fear of hell and the glory of life everlasting, as soon as anything has been ordered by the superior, receive it as a divine command and cannot suffer any delay in executing it. But this very obedience will be acceptable to God and pleasing to men only if what is commanded is done without hesitation. Delay, lukewarmness, grumbling, or objection. For the obedience given to superiors is given to God. For if the disciple obeys with an ill will and murmurs, not necessarily with his lips but simply in his heart, then even though he fulfills the command, yet his work will not be acceptable to God, who sees that his heart is murmuring, and far from gaining a reward for such work as this, he will incur the punishment due to murmurers, unless he amend and make satisfaction.
Abbot Peter's health is deteriorating. They say he won't make it to the autumn.
No, Peter has a strong constitution. He'll still be on this earth for many years to come.
I wish all good health upon him, but I want change, and only a new abbot can bring that.
Waiting pays off. There's no hurry.
Peace be with you, brother.
It's a wonder the prior doesn't check everyone's breath in the morning. Then he'd soon get his man.
Tell you, something is going to happen out there.
You might be wrong. Besides, God will be our guide.
So what's your stepbrother?
Pay more attention, brother.
Why such haste?
Why such
Slow
haste?
down, brother.
Salve. Be well.